I didn't yell. I didn't report him. I didn't even confront him. Instead, I let a single photograph do what weeks of public humiliation couldn't. And from that moment on, my law firm partner never touched my office blinds again. If you've ever been subtly disrespected at work, if someone tried to shame you without technically breaking any rules, then you're going to love how this one ends. Hit like, subscribe, and settle in, because this is one of those quiet, elegant revenge stories that hits hard without raising its voice. I used to be a partner at a law firm. Not an associate, not a junior attorney. A partner, which meant years of long nights, impossible deadlines, and the kind of pressure that rewires how your brain works. It also meant at least in theory mutual respect among equals. That last part is where Chad comes in. Chad was also a partner. The kind of guy who always arrived early, always spoke just a bit louder than necessary, and always seemed to be scanning the room for validation. Perfect suit, perfect hair, perfectly empty desk. And apparently, my desk bothered him. My office wasn't dirty. Nothing spilled. Nothing sticky. Nothing lost. But I worked with paper. Copies of documents, drafts, notes, evidence, stacks. They sat in uneven piles on my desk, organized chaos, the kind only the owner understands. Chad hated Italiano. At first, it was jokes. Little comments slipped into partner meetings. "Oh, I stopped by your office earlier. Thought I'd wandered into a recycling center, Sofchuklis." Forced smiles. At firm events, it got worse. At the holiday party, drinking aunt, he leaned over and said loudly, "Careful, don't trip over the paperwork avalanche." People laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was easier than making things awkward. I always smiled, and I always replied the same way. If a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, I'd say calmly, "Then what, exactly, is an empty desk?" A sign of that usually shut him up. But it didn't stop him, because Chad wasn't joking. He was probing, seeing how much he could embarrass me without consequences, seeing whether I'd snap, complain, or look unprofessional. And when he didn't get the reaction he wanted, he escalated. Our offices lined the inner wall of the building. Each one had a long window next to the door looking out into the hallway. The blinds could only be opened from inside the office. Everyone kept them closed. Privacy mattered. One morning, I arrived and noticed my blinds were open. I frowned, closed them, and got to work. The next morning. Open. Again. Anyone walking past could see my desk in all its messy glory. At first, I assumed the cleaning crew, but after a week, I started paying attention. Every other office blinds closed. Some as always only. Mine was different. That's when it clicked. Chad arrived early. Always had. He was opening my blinds every single morning just to put my workspace on display, turning my desk into a silent punchline. And the worst part? He never said a word. That's what made it so infuriating. No confrontation, no accusation, no HR complaint. Just a daily reminder that someone thought they could toy with me. I considered confronting him. I even rehearsed a calm, professional conversation in my head. Then I stopped. Because Chad didn't deserve reasonable. He deserved creative. Years before I joined the firm, the partners had taken a trip to a nearby lake. I dug through old internal folders until I found the photos. And then I found it. Chad. Backward baseball cap. Standing next to a female employee. Flexing. Except there was nothing to flex. Skinny arms, no biceps. The confident pose of a man utterly unaware of how ridiculous he looked. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't edited. It was just honest. I printed it, blew it up to a 4 size, made multiple color copies. On the back, I wrote, "Please do not open my blinds. I prefer to keep them closed. If you remove this photo, I will put up another." I have made multiple copies. That evening, before leaving, I taped the photo at eye level to the blinds image, facing outward, note facing inward. If the blinds stayed closed, no one would ever see it. But if someone opened them, everyone would. The next morning, I walked in, feeling equal parts giddy and nervous, blinds closed. For a split second, I thought he'd stopped. Then I opened my door. The photo was gone. Just torn tape clinging to the blinds. Primera smiled, because he'd seen it. I taped up another. Next morning, gone again. Blinds still closed. After that, I didn't bother replacing it. Because the message had landed, my blinds were never opened again. No comments. No jokes. No accidents. Chad never mentioned my desk after that. And suddenly, his own office door stayed closed a lot more often. There was no shouting match, no dramatic confrontation. Just a quiet understanding. He'd tried to embarrass me, and learned without ever saying a word. I never lost documents. I never missed deadlines, and my desk never defined my competence. But Chad learned something far more important. Never underestimate someone just because they don't play your game. If this kind of calm, surgical revenge is your favorite flavor, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories where justice doesn't scream, it smiles. And tell me in the comments, what's the smartest, quietest revenge you've ever seen? Because sometimes the best payback is simply letting someone expose themselves.